What is going on? I'm sorry. If you're upset that they're there, you should have beat them.
Team Rivalry is going live. That's right, join us for the special edition live stream of the Ohio State Buckeyes versus the Missouri Tigers in the Cotton Bowl on December 29th. Or don't, it's a free country. Now on to the show.
Welcome back, everybody, to Michigan Chatter on Team Rivalry. I am your host, Cliff. With me, as always, is my co-host and son, Mac. How you doing, Mac?
I'm doing all right. It's a little chilly. You know, there's some snow on the ground, but that's okay. It's almost Christmas.
The snow is coming.
Well, depending on when you're watching this, it's almost Christmas. We're recording this before Christmas. This might come out after Christmas. Whoops. Well, crap.
Because we'd like to take a vacation, too, and we don't want you to forget about us.
Yes, this is correct.
There we are.
Please don't forget about us.
This is the show where we like to make football fun again. And this time around, we're going to make football, college football, a little bit more like high school football, as a whole bunch of coaches in the Big Ten decided they wanted to pass notes to each other about Michigan. And that's what this article is all about. Big Ten coaches skeptical of Michigan's chances versus Alabama. Did any of them speak on the record?
No.
It's all anonymous. Story is by Sonny Giuliano, and it comes out of Clutch Point.
Yeah.
That is the name of this one. All right, so here we go. Despite their standing as the number one team in the college football playoff rankings, I feel like this should be more ominous. The Michigan Wolverines. The Michigan Wolverines do not seem to be seen in such high regard by the public. Well, outside of Ann Arbor, maybe, but in Ann Arbor and in southeastern Michigan, we love them. Mm-hmm. Though they aren't quite an underdog in the Rose Bowl versus Alabama, the Wolverines are barely favored, and most analysts are taking the Crimson Tide to move on to the championship game. Those analysts would not be the ones working for the odds makers who have a whole lot of money riding on this. Just to be clear. Now, How much...
Vegas still thinks Michigan's going to win.
Now, how much of this is unconscious pushback because of their sign-stealing scandal? We don't need to go into that again. Right now, we did that in the other video. We'll have a link in the show notes. I love this. That cost Jim Harbaugh the final 3 games of the regular season. Like he lost them. Michigan won. They
beat you. They beat you with the backup coach. Sit down.
Oh, but a recent story on The Athletic indicates that most Big Ten coaches are a bunch of whiny crybabies. They see plenty of on-field issues for the Wolverines. Let us find out what some of these on-field issues are.
Apparently, on-field issues aren't bad enough for those other teams to beat them. So,
one of the main concerns that opposing coaches see for Michigan is J.J. McCarthy's less than stellar play down the stretch of the season. Quote, "I don't know what's causing him to be hesitant and not as decisive as he was earlier," said a Big Ten head coach who played Michigan, shared with Bruce Feldman of The Athletic. He seems out of sync lately.
Why does he care? Like, okay, yeah, we all saw J.J. McCarthy kind of take a step back against Penn State and Maryland. And then Ohio State, like he did enough to win. He wasn't phenomenal, but he did enough to win. Like they won the game. Like, shut up. But like, why does this Big Ten coach, who I can only assume is not going to a bowl game, why does he care?
Yeah, well, I would be interested to go back the last 2 years. Did the same thing happen? Did they do this article in 22 and 21?
No. Did they ever do it about Ohio State?
I don't know.
No, they didn't. What is the deal, guys? Michigan has this weird sign stealing thing, and then all of a sudden, all of the other Big Ten coaches are just like, they're the devil of the Big Ten.
They've desecrated the game.
Ann Arbor is hell.
In the final 4 games of the season, 3 during Jim Harbaugh's suspension. Just got to make it clear. Harbaugh was suspended. Everybody needs to know that. And the Big Ten championship game. J.J. McCarthy threw for only 124 yards per game and just 1 touchdown, which apparently was all they needed to win every single one of those games. Let's make sure everybody understands that.
Let's just stop for a second, okay? Ohio State and Penn State have two of the top 5 defenses in the country. Penn State is number 1 in rushing yards allowed, and Michigan beat them by running. They didn't need, and I would have liked to see McCarthy throw the ball a little bit more. I want Michigan to be more balanced for sure, but he was already injured. He got injured in the Penn State game. So why are you going to make him hold on to the ball longer than he needs to?
And they
Run
still
the freaking football, and they still won.
Was this a case of offensive coordinator Sharon Moore knowing that the Wolverines could get by with the run game? Is McCarthy injured?
Yes.
I've heard he's
Yes.
banged up since the Penn State game, said a Big Ten head coach. Either way, the general consensus is Michigan can't afford to be one-dimensional against the Crimson Tide.
And that's probably true, and that's okay. But why do they care?
But
Why do they
flip
care?
that around, they could afford to be one-dimensional against every other team in the Big Ten.
Apparently, the rest of the Big Ten just sucks that much.
Yeah.
But okay, yeah, they'll just go ahead and start talking about Michigan, talking trash about Michigan.
Yep.
Like, okay.
Well, okay, so which, as we know, has been commented in our other videos, that Michigan has played crap teams because the Big Ten is soft. So how's that gonna
Okay.
hold up against Alabama?
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe they're right. Maybe they're right. I mean, we keep looking at the Alabama USF score and thinking that, well, you know, USF isn't a good team. Maybe they're a friggin' powerhouse, guys. Maybe the University of South Florida is just such a great team that they took Alabama to halftime tied at 3.
I think Alabama is way more talented. Another Big Ten coach told Feldman, Michigan's offense is not dynamic enough at the skill position. Alabama's going to get heavy-handed with them. If Alabama can stop the run, Michigan has no chance. None.
I don't know what getting heavy-handed means in the context of football, but okay.
I don't know.
Alabama, like, go ahead.
I mean, it must be if Alabama's D-line can put enough pressure and get through Michigan's O-line, but that would be the case no matter what. That Michigan, well, I shouldn't say it wouldn't be the case that Michigan wouldn't have a chance, but definitely if they keep breaking through the O-line, that makes things more difficult.
Yeah, but like, okay, so maybe Alabama is more talented, okay, and Michigan, despite being a much better passing team than in years past, maybe they're not as dynamic as we would like them to be. But if they win the game, it doesn't matter.
It's dynamic
Okay?
enough.
Yes, it's dynamic enough. If they can throw the ball enough, if they can run the ball enough. No, Michigan's O-line is not as good as they were in years past, especially last year. But they don't need to be. All they need to be is better than Alabama. All they need to do is scheme in a certain way that can beat Alabama. If they can do enough, then it doesn't matter.
I love this too. Since we've been quoting movie lines in the last few videos, this is directly from Last of the Mohicans. There's no chance, none. Anyway, few teams all year have been able to limit Michigan's attack on the ground, but against Alabama, some Big Ten coaches see the Crimson Tide being able to give Blake Corum and company some problems.
Sure. Maybe they can, and they probably will. But again, that doesn't mean that Michigan needs to have like this super amazing and dynamic passing attack. It just has to be good enough.
Yep. Something just fell off my monitor. That's why I freaked out for a second.
Oh, I was wondering. I was like, no dead air. Don't react.
Quote, they're not as good as they were up front last year, according to a defensive analyst. Now, does this defensive analyst work for a Big Ten team, or is this just some defensive analyst?
I think that's for a Big Ten team.
All right. Quote, I think Alabama will give them trouble with their front. A Big Ten head coach added. I wanted to go through and try to figure out. We don't have to do it right now. I meant I wanted to go through on my own to try to figure out which coach said what.
I know. There's
Because
one that
go ahead,
what?
go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say there's one that Isaiah Hull called out as probably being a Penn State coach.
Oh yeah,
It's whichever one says that JJ McCarthy was supposed to be a Heisman candidate. You can't pass the ball 8 times in a game and expect to be a Heisman candidate.
okay,
That game was against Penn State when he threw the 8 passes. He completed 7 of them, by
yeah,
the way. So
yeah,
whatever. Yeah. So credit to Lockdown Wolverines Isaiah Hull
yeah.
for that one.
I'm going to skip down a little bit here. I think it's the same old thing with Michigan, said a Big Ten secondary coach. They're extremely talented, but if someone can hold up front with them, I think they're just too one dimensional. That is a contradictory statement. They're very talented, but they're one dimensional.
Well, it doesn't. I don't know that it's entirely contradictory because like they can have talented wide receivers and just not use them properly. But
All right.
Michigan has been doing a lot better with using the wide receivers. I mean, Michigan's been doing a lot better with, using the tight ends and spreading the ball around and stuff like that. And I understand that they're not, the 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 NFL offense that we all want to see, but they're 13-0, guys. They beat Ohio State. Like,
Yep.
why is everyone whatever?
All right, I'm gonna jump down to the last quote here. If Milrow plays like he has lately, I think that'll be too much for Michigan. There's nobody like him in the Big Ten. Alabama has figured out how to use him, and that's scary.
Yeah, he's been playing really, really well the last few weeks of the season. I mean, Alabama is obviously they're one of those teams that like they can struggle in the first part of the season and then be a completely different team at the end of the season. And Michigan, is definitely going to have to take advantage of the couple of weeks off and get healthy and prepare for him, which we talked about the other video. It sounds like they are preparing for him pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, this is just going to be a game between two really good teams. It's not like people. This reads like people are offended that Michigan would even show up to this game. Like, the reason Michigan's there is because they beat the crap out of all of you. The same people giving Michigan crap.
Yep.
Like, what is going on? I'm sorry. If you're upset that they're there, you should have beat them.
Yeah, there's a strange dynamic going on right now. I wonder it'll be interesting next year because I wonder if a lot of the head coaches are just under a whole lot of stress this year because there's going to be 4 new teams coming in next year. It's going to be all different next year. I bet you a bunch of them are just freaking out. And right now Jim Harbaugh makes a great target.
I guess, but like, why? I mean, go after Tony Petitti.
Yeah.
Go after Kevin Warren. He's the guy that signed Washington, Oregon, USC, and UCLA. I mean, if you don't want the super conference, if you're Indiana, Northwestern, Maryland, Rutgers, and you don't want the super conference, get mad at them or leave.
Yeah.
Like, you're probably going to get kicked out soon anyway.
All right. I think that's going to about do it for us on this one. Let us know in the comments what you think about what the Big Ten coaches said about Jim Harbaugh and the Wolverines. Mac, is there anything you want to add to that?
I need some Tylenol. And a drink. Need a drink.
Speaking of that, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Enjoy the rest of the football season. I know there's not too much left, but enjoy those games. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a wild ride through this through these playoffs and the national championship. That's going to do it for us. Mac, take us out.
Just really quickly want to emphasize that you said, speaking of Tylenol and alcohol, Merry Christmas. This is Michigan Chatter on Big Ten Team Rivalry.
I was thinking of Christmas Vacation.
Oh, yeah.
But then I realized I couldn't say the line. Hallelujah. Holy.
Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give us a subscribe. It would mean a lot to us. Maybe even a like, possibly even a comment. Let us know your thoughts and all that. It would be really great to hear from you all. Have a great weekend watching football and enjoy watching football. Remember, hashtag make football fun again. This is Big Ten Team Rivalry.